Hi there, I'm Ken Lammers. Welcome to Minor League Matters. And today we're going to talk about soccer in the United States. Um, and let's start out with the big story of the week. The big story of the week was that FC Cincinnati is going to the MLS. I'm saddened to see this, actually. I think it's really kind of bad for soccer in general. Let's face it, uh, Cincinnati boomed last year because it did well in the Open and that. It's gotten really good numbers, right? Uh, but will it sustain? I don't know if it will or not. Uh, get past the honeymoon period, 5 years or whatever, and that may reset once they restart as an MLS team. They may get another 5 years. But as most soccer in the United States, it probably only has support in the immediate Cincinnati area, right? Unfortunately, I think that MLS, if they're still hidebound and stubborn and determined to move Columbus Crew out of Columbus, may think that by putting a team in Cincinnati, they've got Ohio covered, which would say a really lot about how MLS doesn't understand Ohio, because Cincinnati pretty much is about the Cincinnati area and ways south, right along the river, down into Kentucky, some West Virginia, some Indiana. I mean, it's south, right? It is not middle Ohio or northern Ohio City. It's not Cleveland. It's not Columbus. These are very different regions of Ohio. And that also brings up kind of an unfortunate thing here. Cincinnati was building a really good rivalry with Louisville. Right now, Louisville's not going to make the MLS. They're not trying, right? And they're a mid-market team, mid to small market team, just like Cincinnati is definitely a mid-market team, uh, which is where you find a lot of the MLS teams. We'll see how that works, but I mean, Louisville, it's done. I mean, they're that rivalry, that really strong rivalry that could have been made, the rivalry with Indianapolis that could have been made. The Indy 11, the rivalry with the Pennsylvania teams, particularly the Pittsburgh was it Riverhounds, which could have been made. That's all gone. The only potential rivalry for Cincinnati now is Columbus. And you know, I've been in southern Cincinnati in southern Ohio and Cincinnati, and they don't look at Columbus as the enemy. So I don't know how well that will play out, right? They're just not regions of Ohio that interact a whole lot or care a whole lot about each other. So yeah, we'll see. I suspect that given a few years, we'll be seeing Cincinnati maybe stumbling along, whereas if they'd have stayed in the USL, they'd have been one of the strongest teams in. Now, it may not be true. I mean, let's be honest here. They're filling stadiums with 20 to 30,000 people most of the time now, and I think in the East, people have kind of awoken to the fact that soccer can fill stadiums, right? This was something that people in the East didn't really believe. They knew that out in Seattle and that, where you had the hippies and all that, and the kind of snobby coast people, that you could get bigger crowds. But the thought was that, in the East it couldn't happen until Atlanta. Atlanta broke all those thought processes last year, and consequently, we have teams like Ohio, like FC Cincinnati, thinking they can do the same thing. We'll have to see about that. But like I said, I'm kind of sad to see him go. It ruins all sorts of, it ruins the strongest regional rivalry they have, and it will probably result in another isolated MLS team, which really doesn't have any rivals and that nobody cares about what's going on with the other teams. That said, I'm sure the owners who worked really hard to make sure they got land to build a stadium and all that sort of stuff are convinced that they'll make money off of it, and they will probably through sharing and all that. But Yeah, it's a sad day. It really is. Having said my piece on that, let's talk about what's going on in the MLS. Sorry, folks, I got to look away for a minute so I can read some of this. Let's see. In the MLS West, Sporting Kansas City, you can see the 8 team or the 6 teams that are at the top and that would theoretically get in the playoffs right now. Although they're, LA Galaxy and Minnesota United are and Real Salt Lake, sorry, are close behind. Wouldn't mind seeing Minnesota United make the playoffs this year. Uh, in their second year, that'd be kind of cool. But if we look at their actual records, I think the only team in well, no, there's 2 teams in the West that still have winning records. Sporting Kansas City, formerly the Wizards, has a winning record at 7 wins, 2 losses, 4 ties. It's barely a winning record, 7 wins and 6 non-wins. And Portland Timbers have a winning record with 6 wins, 3 losses, 2 ties. So again, barely a winning record at 6-5. In second place is LAFC, which doesn't have a winning record. It is got 6 wins, 3 losses, 3 ties. So it's at exactly 50%, which means it doesn't have a winning record. So it's one of the flaws of soccer. Soccer is an amazing sport to watch on the field, but because of the way they score things in standings and all that, it's bad for that. In the East, we have Atlanta United at the top, and Columbus Crew has come back to be in second again. Here, well, there's only one team with a winning record. No, I take that back. There's more than one team with a winning record in the East. Atlanta United at 8 wins, 3 losses, 2 ties. It has a winning record, obviously, at the top. Columbus Crew does not. They've got 7 wins, 3 losses, 4 ties, which means they don't have a winning record. NYFC does at 7-3-3. New York Red Bulls do at 7-3-1. I think what we've got going on here is some of the northern teams at the beginning of the year, I think, missed some matches because of snow. I mean, it was nasty at the beginning of the year. There's a reason we don't play soccer or have our soccer season in the United States over the winter. I know that it sucks sometimes on those really hot nights that they're playing, but there's a reason we don't have it over the winter because you couldn't do it. Most of those teams up north would not get their games in unless they were in enclosed arenas, and the only enclosed arenas available at that time are actual football arenas, and they ain't getting those at that time of the year. It's really kind of a shame that MLS doesn't work hard to try to get the football arenas, through the summer, so that football could play through the winter, they could play through the summer, and still have a fairly cool stadium where a lot of them are domed and that sort of thing up north because of the weather. But MLS is not trying to do that, and except for Atlanta, they made that exception for Atlanta. Why? Probably because they were going to make a ton of money, but they don't seem to be wanting to do that anywhere else. Let's look at the USL. USL out west, we have Real Monarchs, sorry, at the top, and their winning record, they have a winning record at 9-2-1, which is pretty doggone good. Behind them, there's the Phoenix Rising at 7-3-3, although I don't guarantee that's still there because they're playing as I tape this, so they could stay a winning team, or they could become a 50% team. Portland Timbers at 7-3-2 is still a winning team, and behind them, I think everybody is a losing team from there on. No, I take it back. Sacramento Republic is not a winning team. but the team right behind them, Orange County SC, at 6-3-2, is one. And behind that, I think that Swope Park. Now, at that point, everybody turns into a non-winning team beyond there. Okay, then we move to the East. Louisville has passed Cincinnati. They had a match, and Louisville won, of course, being Louisville. And they passed Cincinnati. They're a winning team with a record of 7 wins, 2 losses, and 1 tie. FC Cincinnati is, at 6 wins, 3 losses, 2 ties. So they barely have a winning season. And behind that, I think every other team in the East does not have a winning record. So that's where we stand in the USL. You can see here that the teams that will make the playoff, which are the top 8 in each division, are there. Some of them are closer than you would think. The 9th, 10th, and 11th in the East, which are Indy 11, Ottawa Fury, and Bethlehem Steel, all are like within a point or two. In the West, you've got San Antonio, St. Louis, and Fresno that are all still within decent striking distance. And some of the other teams with a couple wins could be right back into it. So that's the USL standings and where things stand there. Hope this has been informative. If you like what you see here, hit like. If you like what you see around here generally, well, then hit subscribe and go watch everything about 9 million times, because that's the only way I could ever make money off by the US or by the YouTube's new rules. And beyond that, well, if you get comments, leave them below. I can't guarantee I'll answer any of them. I got a day job. The boss expects me to work for some reason. I'm not sure why. Maybe because he's paying me. But I will try to read everything that comes in. And beyond that, if you want to contact me, hit me on Twitter @LammersK. And so it should be pretty easy to catch me there. Send me a direct message or something. And I'm going to leave you with the same last bit of advice I always leave you all with. If you've got any spare time and you got any spare change, because that's about all it costs, go watch some minor league sports. Y'all have a good week now.